some efforts. So we appreciate that all of you are here. I just wanted to note that Councillor Sullivan is away today. So she's actually on a well-deserved holiday outside of Canada. So she is not with us today. So with that in mind, is there anyone among my council colleagues who'd like to read the land acknowledgement this evening? Looking for a hand. If not, I will read it. I'm not seeing anyone, so I'm going to read it. So the municipality of North Grenville acknowledges that the municipality operates on the unceded and non-surrendered territory of the Anishinaabe. We honor the historic relationship of the Haudenosaunee and Huron-Wendat peoples to this land. We recognize all First Nations, Métis and Inuit who now call North Grenville their home. We respect and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship with all Indigenous peoples, and we look forward to continuing this conversation and fostering the path towards reconciliation. And I want to say that, we as a re-elected council certainly continue on with our efforts to pursue truth and reconciliation in the municipality of North Grenville, and we look forward to, in the coming months, advertising for an Indigenous circle, and that will be a municipal advisory committee comprised of those who identify as Indigenous or have had extensive experience advocating alongside Indigenous peoples. So we look forward to the convening of that committee. But in the meantime, of course, at the start of every meeting, we do read our land acknowledgement. So with that, I will look for an approval of the agenda, and I'll look to council colleagues to move and second the agenda this evening. Councillor Barclay and Councillor Strachan, thank you. Are there any questions or comments on the agenda this evening, council colleagues? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor, please raise your hands. Good, thank you. With that, we do have one item to address before our committee grant presentations. But before I go there, I will ask for any disclosures of interest, council colleagues, in regards to any item on the agenda this evening. If it has the possibility of creating any financial conflict of a personal or professional nature. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing that, I'll move on then. So we'll go straight to the first item on our agenda, and that is Strathcona Cup Day. As many are aware, our North Grenville Curling Club is enthusiastically hosting some elite level curling in the coming days. And they have approached council about the possibility of declaring, as many others in Eastern Ontario have, a particular day where there will be some excellent curling happening at our curling club. So they've asked that we declare Jan 31st, 2023 as Strathcona Cup Day and the municipality of North Grenville. Hillary, is there anyone here to speak to Strathcona Day?
I can speak to it.
Perfect, Christine.
Okay, Christine, wonderful. Welcome.
Yeah, hi, I'm Christine Janis, and I'm a member of the board of the of the North Grenville Curling Club. And Strathcona Cup is an international tournament between Scotland and Canada, and we host curlers from Scotland who come and visit municipalities across the country, and we are gratefully welcoming a contingent that will play against 20 of our curlers on the 31st. So we've got it's a men's curling bonspiel, and it does bring some very fine curling. So having it be designated as Strathcona Cup Day would be a real boon, and will signal to our visitors that this is indeed a very welcoming community that they're coming to play in.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that additional context. Christine, do we host this typically? Is this something that North Grenville's Curling Club has been involved in?
I think we've hosted it. It comes to Canada, I think every 4 or 5 years. And
Oh,
I'm new to the
okay.
club here, but I do believe that 5 years ago, we hosted them. And then there are members of our contingent that go to Scotland. I guess it's every other year, every 2 years.
Okay. I see Debbie Wilson, Councillor Wilson. Is there anything you want to add, Councillor Wilson? No? Okay, so we do this.
I concur, but I do know people that have gone over to Scotland and had a great time, but
And they welcome us heartily when we go there. I
Yes.
know when Canadians go there, they roll out the red carpet.
they sure
Nice.
do.
Nice. Okay, so council, that's the proposition before you this evening. Presuming that you have the appetite to do so, can I look for a mover and a seconder for a declaration? Council Barkley, Council Wilson, thank you. And that is that the municipality of North Grenville declare Jan 31st as Strathcona Cup Day in the municipality of North Grenville. Any other comments? Christine, anything else you'd like to add? We're good? Okay. So I'll call the vote. All in favor, please. Good. Thanks to the North Grenville Curling Club for bringing that to our attention, and we're glad to welcome such elite curling in our community. That's wonderful. So now we'll move on. Colleagues, you'll see that we have 11 presentations. So effectively, we're looking at around 7 minutes a presentation, and with a little bit of time for questions from council colleagues. So we've allotted just under 2 hours for the presentations that we will be receiving this evening. So I will do my best alongside Ms. Janou to keep the time. We know that there's so much energy and enthusiasm and a real want for partnership when it comes to some of the community initiatives that are featured this evening. So we look forward to hearing from you and hope that you can keep certainly your attention and keep to the time, and that way we'll be able to get through all 11. I believe, Ms. Janou, do we have all presenters here this evening from all 11?
It looks like we may be missing one, or someone else may be in place of them. I'll just touch base with them.
Okay, that sounds great. So we'll start with the North Grenville Rainbow Youth Alliance. I believe we have Melissa Button. There you go. Hi, Melissa. So just council colleagues, if you want to see Melissa, I think you can set her to speaker on your screen so she shows up a little bit bigger than just a little square. But over to you, Melissa, and I'll keep an eye on the time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mayor and council members, for having me this evening. So I am the founder of the North Grenville Rainbow Youth Alliance. Oh, perfect. We do have the PowerPoint. I wasn't certain if we would have it up or not.
Excellent.
Amazing. Okay, great. So I will start off with just, our mission statement. So the North Grenville Rainbow Youth Alliance mission is to create a safe space where all 2S LGBTQIA identifying youth can come together and foster friendships, gain confidence in themselves, experience creativity, and have a place where they can be their 100% authentic selves. This space is created without a fear of judgment or bullying from others. So if I go down 2 slides, I believe, that's just the one more. There we go. Okay, what we are about. Oh, back one. I'm so sorry. Okay, so we are a not-for-profit corporation. It was created November 1st, 2022. It's facilitated by myself. I go by she, her pronouns, and my co-chair, Molly Morgan, who also goes by she, her pronouns. Unfortunately, Molly could not be present this evening. She is one of the wonderful individuals plowing snow. So she is very, very busy. And not only do we both identify within the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, we have strived to better the lives of youth within our area. The intention of the NGRYA is to offer identifying youth a program that is at zero cost to families. This is really important to us as a financial advisor with the rise of obviously cost of living, and then add in the rise of bullying and self-harm in our youth, it is critical that these children and youth have a program that will not be dependent if a family can afford to bring them. We meet every 2 to 4 weeks right now. We use the KYC area. All programming is centered around creating confidence within themselves to be who they authentically are. We achieve this through group discussion, creating artwork, bringing in guest speakers, and actually in the next few weeks, we are doing self-defense courses for the kids. So they gain the confidence to speak up for themselves should they be in a situation with bullying, and God forbid it escalates. They have the tools in order to get away. So next slide, please. So this is just about Ontario statistics. 77% of trans respondents to an Ontario-based survey had contemplated suicide in this past year. Over half of those respondents had actually attempted suicide. These numbers are absolutely staggering. Substance abuse was 36% higher in Ontario among the 2S LGBTQIA+ community versus heterosexual folks. You will also notice the spelling of folks, that is not a spelling error. That is actually to show more inclusion. Their youth that are identifying are also 14 times higher for the risk of suicide and substance abuse compared to their heterosexual counterparts. Also, hate crimes motivated by sexual orientation has more than doubled in Canada. You can find all these statistics at cmha.ca, and as you can see, they are terrifying to see. And research shows that when youth have these programs that create a safe space, these numbers go down by more than half. So next slide, please. So essentially, cost to run our program. We're looking at the next year as we are a new organization. So we have a couple of things on the list. We have our self-defense course, insurance costs, food, seminars with specialists. And just to make note on that, that is actually bringing in specialists that deal with identifying youth. So sometimes that's a pediatrician, it can be counselors, it can be, we're dealing with Max Ottawa. We're also dealing with the 519 out of Toronto. And this is all just kind of giving the youth different resources that they can rely on in their everyday life. Supplies for arts and games. And then February 13th, we are also meeting with the North Grenville Library in hopes of dedicating a specific area to books for identifying not only youth actually, but also adults, because we are pairing with NG Pride with that. So the total cost over the year is $10,040. Right down to the number. It's not an even number, but if you go to the next slide. So our request is a $10,000 grant for our first year. Our obvious commitment would be a detailed account of the funds received and where it was used, just so there's clear transparency on each side. We are obviously a grassroots organization, so the plan is also to research and apply for grants available through provincial and federal governments in 2024. So that way we don't only rely obviously on municipality. The next slide. So where you can find us, we are on Facebook under the North Grenville Rainbow Youth Alliance. We have an email, ng.rainbowyouth@gmail.com. The website will actually be up and running in the next 2 weeks. We are also going to be implementing a QR code on some flyers. So those will actually be going out to schools as well. So all youth have access to our services, as that was one thing that kind of came out from the EDI meetings, was just that all youth weren't fully aware where they could find us. And we want to make sure that they know. And the last slide. So that's actually a picture of us. That was an evening that we did a paint night. It was called Paint Your Identity. And, you know, as much as I'm there to mentor and help these kids also teach me with every single get together. And yeah, thank you for listening. This isn't just a group to us. It's truly about helping these kids and hopefully saving lives and of the kids in our community. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa. That's a great presentation. Any questions from council colleagues before we move on? Just looking. Oh, yeah, Deputy Mayor, go ahead. Deputy Mayor Barclay, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Obviously, a great organization and a great program. And thank you for going first. I don't know if that was your option or whether that was just the way you were placed in the queue. It's always tough. It's always tough to go first. But this is a question I'm going to ask of many of the applicants tonight and also on February 8th. And given that we've got sort of limited resources, we'd like to send everyone away very happy with the decision of council. But I think there's some people who won't make the cut. So my question to you is there any way that you can scale down the project? Is there is it flexible, or is it in some cases, you know, you either do it or you don't, or yeah, it would help us in making a decision. Yeah, it would help us in making a decision, because we're going to have to make some really tough decisions. I've sort of reviewed all the applicants, and we've got a lot of very worthwhile projects. So hate to put you on the spot, but you know.
No, it's totally a fair question. It's a very fair question. Absolutely, very flexible. I will make it very clear, no matter what, we're not going anywhere. This is something that this municipality needs either way. So we are very flexible, and we're also very grateful to whichever you can put towards our organization. If we can't get the full amount, that just means we're going to hit the road harder with fundraising. Either way, the programs that I have already initiated will still happen. We'll figure it a way.
Okay, thanks. That's really going to help us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, John.
Councillor Strachan, and then we're going to move on to the next presentation. Go ahead, Councillor Strachan.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Just a great presentation. Just a very quick question for you to sort of dovetail into what the Deputy Mayor has just asked. Part of what we consider from a longer term perspective is also the long-term planning from a financial perspective. And I think you touched on a little bit from fundraising.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, have you made significant, I guess, inroads into looking at fundraising opportunities for this year to help maybe balance that out if you don't get the full funding?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have. The one thing I will say about the municipality and the community members is they are very generous. So we have had a couple of fundraising activities already. So we are already slightly partway there. I can't say totally how much. And then I'm also looking into partnering, with a couple of other organizations as well to make things I guess stretch out longer, if that makes sense. So looking at all options.
Fantastic. Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Kristen.
So Ms. Janine has just advised us that the streaming function is not working. So I just wanted to ask if, Hillary, if you can tell us, is this session then being recorded?
Yes, it's being recorded.
Okay, so I know that Councillor O'Sullivan and perhaps others will want to see a recorded version of this meeting moving forward. Will they be able to do so?
Absolutely, we'll make it available.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I think we're going to move on. I did see something in the chat about meeting space. Does that need to be addressed now, or can we do that offline? Oh, that was Christine. Gotcha. Okay, Christine, you can take that up with Melissa for sure. All right, so as I understand it, next I'm welcoming Herb Cloutier and Wendy Embleton for the next presentation. Is that right, in regards to the Kentville Fair?
believe that's correct. Wendy and
Okay, welcome Herb.
can-
Are you by yourself tonight, Herb, or is it Wendy as well?
No, Wendy's here too. Thank you
Okay.
to everyone, Mayor Peckford, Deputy Mayor Barkley, and Council for this opportunity. I assume everyone's reviewed the grant application because I spent 18 hours on it.
Yes, he did.
Anyhow,
Absolutely, absolutely. We've studied these very closely, Herb, very
What?
closely.
Only took me
Okay.
10 hours to go through it, Herb.
That's good. That's good, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. One of the big things when I put my head together for a grant application is it worthy? Is it meet up? And when we see good causes like Melissa's and other things like the hospice and things like that, I think one of the things I have to do is recognize that there's really importance for health and wellness and growing community and inclusion. So what Wendy and I are proposing is that Kemptville is the largest hub in our region, and we're one of the very few, if any, that we could find that don't have a fair. We don't have a midway, and we don't have anything to build off that to bring in agriculture components and good local initiatives like what Melissa's doing and what the BIA is doing, and what the KDCA has done. So we feel that there's a need for a fair in Kemptville that's ongoing annually. And it's not easy and it's not cheap to get a fair to come to North Grenville for the first time. They have their set fair routes, and it's very risky for them to take on a new town. So what we propose is some of the things that we think is important is that the municipality always seems to be wanting a fair. I think that we should be a hub for our region. I think that, it's more than just a one-day event. It's a cultural experience. I know that when we positioned it, we want to do it at the end of fall and back to school, so that there's a sense of fun and excitement, instead of just, when I was going to school, having that kind of sad part about summer being over and go back to school. And a fair certainly does great things for the health and wellness of our families and youth. But we do recognize that there's a cost involved with this. And I think the vision that I have, and I've shared this with people before, is that I believe that North Grenville and Kemptville need to be or can be a hub for festivals and events. If you look at Kemptville generally, I'm born and raised here, as I know Councillor Wilson is, there's very few, other than maybe one or two historical tourism things that we can really bring to Kemptville. It's not our fault, that's just the way it is. So I see Kemptville as a festival events hub, and I think it's important that we, with the growth of the 43 highway, with the growth of housing, both commercial and business wise, and we would like to have this fair at Riverside Park to reinforce and support the expansion at Riverside Park and bring people in to see what Riverside Park has done. There has been, some back and forth on that project, but I think that if people see that it's supported by local events, and how nice it is and how it's been redeveloped and useful and more user friendly, I think that will help residents understand where our tax dollars are going and how it's supported. We have a good amount of time during the schedule to support tourism and to bring in local events. The first year may be limited, but I see this as an ongoing, annual event that will grow. And I really believe that we can draw in a fair board and draw in agricultural components and bring in the 4-H youth, which Wendy knows more about than I do, and then really draw some really good tourism, basically like we have done for other events throughout North Grenville that have been successful. Just hoping to bring back, you know, the roots of an old time country fair. We would like to align it with the strategic plan and the pillars that the municipality and this council have set out. And I think having activities of this size do align with that strategic plan as far as inclusion and trying to be, you know, health and wellness. I think that we proved in North Grenville that with our recent participation results, you know, nationally, that we are capable of having a big event. We're capable of doing more. And right now it's just a matter of getting this first one off the ground and trying to see where that leads in the future. But as far as that goes, we have asked for what's in the grant funding, and we plan to fundraise and sell user pay tickets at the gate to make up more than 60% of that ask. So it's on us to make sure that happens. The biggest issue right now is going to be to get the fair to entice the fair to come here. We did have a meeting with Marty Kleiss, the owner of Amusements Ontario. We had a walkthrough with Mark Guy at Riverside Park last year, and also at the Kemptville campus. And we looked at those two locations. We felt that Riverside Park would better align with the strategic plan of North Grenville. And I think that this is the vision that I have, to bring a fair back to Kemptville, an old time fair with really good quality fair, not the fairs we've seen where somebody puts up a fair in a parking lot and says, hey, that's great. You know, no, I want to bring back a real good midway, a real nice fair, and something that we can build towards. And if you have questions on financial or the agricultural side, that's why Wendy's taking over that side of it. So we're happy to take your questions. We're happy to take your money and your questions, but make sure that you I really want to stress this taxpayer money will benefit this community. It's not a direct loss. So, you know, we really believe that as this grows, this will be a revenue generator for our municipality, and and it's not something that's going to be you know, a negative.
Thank you, Herb. Just being responsible of time, I'm going to stop you there, and maybe why don't we see if Wendy has anything to add in the question and answer period, and if not, she can provide any other comments at the end, or you can to wrap up. I just have a quick question. Yeah, I just have a quick question. Go ahead, Herb.
I was just saying we could go through the slides while we're talking. If you could go to the next slides and just roll through them slowly, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think we have about 5 minutes left. So as that's happening, I guess Megan's or Hillary's gonna advance the slides. Is that right? Okay. Here's my question, Herb. How does it typically work? These are private sector, right? These are businesses that, right?
Yep.
That undertake these festivals and set up shop in a community. And as to your point, some of them are there regularly. They're widely anticipated. They go to the same spot in every community every year. So I think the question will be the need for the municipality or even a community organization to subsidize their participation. Obviously, all the revenues that they generate on site stay with them. So help me understand how it is that we couldn't say to them, hey, we'll make Riverside Park available to you and put us on your schedule. How is it that we need to entice them through a financial partnership, or is it that you're building out from what they would offer to be more of a festival? I guess that's the piece I'm a little bit confused about.
I'd like to answer this one, Herb.
Okay.
I think the first year, one of the part of the company that we're working with or partnering with, they expect to, they have their business profile and they make their money by the rides and the carnival participants, right? Although they need to make a certain amount in order to make it worthwhile. So that very first year, us providing them a deposit, if you will, entices them to come. Every further year going down the road, they're going to be coming of their own accord, knowing that we are creating this event as an overhaul. The key is that the infrastructure that we require for the fencing and the logistics, if you will, that's where the financial cost is to us. So putting the fencing up around the park and having the tents up and the porta potties, we know how much it costs us just for the Canada Day event, and that's not as accessible as it's whatever, as big as this one is. And then also the live entertainment, that's on us to draw that line, to hire the live performers throughout those 3 days. And that's very costly as well with the demographic that we're looking at. So the first year, we have to give them a deposit for them to show up. The idea is that we provide a wonderful experience for their company to make funds, to see a value in coming back that following years to come. That makes sense, Herb?
And I'd
Yeah.
just like to add, because that's a very good question. One of the things that's important to realize is that if we undertake a fair in North Grenville, the enticement to get the amusement park people here requires a deposit, and that deposit is you know, if as it was explained to me, because I'm not a amusement park guy, but as it was explained to me, the first year events are usually you know, fairly well of a break even for the amusement park people, because it's a new area. If they happen to, for some reason, get, you know, 50,000 people paying there's a clause within that they will pay back that to the organization committee, and absolutely there's a mechanism there to repay the municipality if it's over a certain amount. I think they want to, I don't want to say what the amount is, but because I'm not 100% sure, but they make their own money on the amusement. We make our own money if we sell tickets to a concert, and any money that's made over top of what their expectation is, it comes back to the organizing committee. So for a first year event, we're not sure if there's going to be anything, but this is probably an event that's going to cost close to $80,000, and we're asking for, you know, less than half of that, of course.
Okay, I do see some additional questions, so we're going to take this one a little bit longer. And thank you to our other colleagues who are on the Zoom call with us, patiently awaiting your turn. So I'll recognize Councillor Strachan and then Deputy Mayor, please. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think what I was going to ask was the ask. I know it's in the report, but just for the sake of putting it out for the public when they review this presentations, and Herb has already answered that. Thank you.
Okay, I have Deputy Mayor Barclay, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And this is along the same lines that my question to Melissa with the Rainbow group. Herb, you know, this is a big project. It's your first year, and I understand that you want to get the ball rolling, and that in order to get the ball rolling, you need to make a $50,000 commitment to the fair organizers. But the total budget is closer to 80,000. So we've got another like 49. Well, yeah, we've got some additional funds on top of that. And I understand that in order to make it a success and to give the fair, I don't know what you want to call them, fair organizers or whatever, justification for coming back a second year and a third year, this is something you'd like to see as an annual event, that you have to properly market it, you have to properly you know, create all those additional items that makes the fair safe. But is there any flexibility in that $35,000 ask? I'm looking down through all these proposals, and a lot of them are at the $1,500 range, at the $5,000 range. You're one of the bigger asks of you're looking for a bigger slice of a very small pie. And
Right.
I'm wondering if, again, my same question to Melissa is, you know, when we have to sit down and make our decisions, is there any way that you can make our decision a little easier by lowering that ask from 35,000?
Everything's on the table. I mean, the issue for us is that we don't want to bring a Mickey Mouse fair and have people look at it and say, you know, we spent, you know, $20,000 and we got this. I want like, as a longtime resident, I want to be proud of this municipality. I want to be proud of the events that come here. And we have to make a decision as a municipality and as a council. Do we want to spend money to bring high quality events to North Grenville? And if we do, that's a cost. And if we don't, and we want to spend it elsewhere, I'm fine with that. But because there are better worth, you know, I mean, looking after our kids and healthcare and bringing doctors here and everything, I get it. There's more important things. But I think it's important that we live a life. And when other municipalities around us that are a quarter the size of us spend twice as much money than this, John, then I think that we have to make a decision if we want to be, you know, a star of our region, or if we just want to continue what we have been doing, which is the status quo. I see this as we could be a real festival hub. And not only this one, there's other things coming up. And yes, it's scalable, John, we can do something for sure, but not to the point where I think it's going to be significant as a scalable item, to the point where I would want to be involved, and then we do something that's kind of Mickey Mouse. I want to do something that, you know, people can be proud of.
I think I'd like to inject here as well. One of the reasons why I like working on this project is I like working with Herb. And as well, you all know, everything that Herb touches tends to be very successful. And I think if we want to have the longevity of this as being an ongoing project, we're kickstarting this. The idea is that Herb and I are working together to try to kickstart this for the moment. But the idea is that it will take a life on it as time goes on of its own accord, and will continue to survive of its own accord without having to have any further input from the municipality as the years go on, because of the fact it does have, if it has that wow factor, if that makes sense, then we'll have no problems drawing in the funding down the road.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, did you have anything else?
Nope.
No. Okay, great. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your vision and your passion and your capacity to think in bold ways, as we, I think, have all been thinking and moving on behalf of our community over the last 4 years. Just a final quick question, and forgive my confusion. The 50,000 deposit goes to the carnival people, and it then stays with them in perpetuity, irregardless of how they generate their own revenue, and with some confirmation that they'll come back year after year? Or is this 50,000 seed dollars that may or may not lead to an annual event? Can anyone tell me?
We're going to draw up a contract that it would be an annual event, and that it will be self-sustaining without that annual $50,000. As explained to me, just to move this fair from Canada to Kemptville with just his labor and trucks to get it here is $50,000 before he makes a penny. And he doesn't want to come to a new event without at least getting his costs covered, his overhead covered. And once he comes to Kemptville, North Grenville, and he sees that it's an area that's thriving for this, I think that I mean, there's no guarantees in life, but I think that we can draw up enough of an agreement that we protect not only you know, our committee and our fair committee, but I think that we can protect the municipality's ask for a future thing. And when you extrapolate the money that we're asking for over a few years, it's pretty much in line with some of the other asks that you'll see.
Indeed,
Annually.
indeed. I just wanted to figure it out in my own mind, so that question isn't lingering for later. But thank you very, very much. We appreciate this this vision and know how deeply you both care about the community. So appreciate this. Thank you very much. All right, so we're gonna move on. And of course, I just want to let any of our presenters know that if there are additional questions in regards to the presentations, of course, we'll reach out. So this is just a quick hit for council to get its head around where people are coming from and what their objectives are. So I think next we're welcoming Suzanne Lerner, please, for the Twi'leks Lantern Parade. Welcome, Suzanne.
Hi, thank you. We can start to the next slide. I feel like I have a little bit of I have my whole slide show outlines all of parameters that were asked to be answered. So if we could go to the next slide. I know many of you know what this event is. It's happened for the last 2 years, and a collective of artists and musicians and performers have put it on at a very low cost. The first year being done on a shoestring with no funding at all. And last year we were lucky to receive a little bit of funding to expand our program and to offer it again. So it does take place in November when it's getting dark, and we're looking for reasons to turn the lights up and to gather together to brave the winter ahead. And so this is the purpose of most light festivals and lantern festivals, including Twi'leks, which it happens in Oxford Mills, where we parade through the streets and end up at Maplewood Park, where we've got performances and circus performers and handmade lanterns that the community makes. Yes, so including all the artist installations and lit up trees and beautiful environments that people of all ages can experience and enjoy. Can we get to the next slide, please? We actually have a little video embedded in this slide, and that might actually help show what the festival's all about. I'm not sure if you're able to click play on that at the very bottom there there. Looks like we've got the sound down. That's okay, it's just a song. In any case, this was done by someone who attended, and it was a perfect video of what people encountered when they were at the event. Large puppets and many lights. That was the local family who operated that owl puppet. Some great interactive displays, and of course, some performers who did some flow arts and circus performances. There we go. And it was very well attended this year. There I am in a costume. It was attended. We grew the festival to probably 500 people all told, which was pretty spectacular considering Oxford Mills is a very small hamlet. And we saw people come to the festival from Canada and Barrhaven and Brockville and Smith Falls and all around the region, even outside of Leeds, Grenville, which was quite spectacular. There's somebody very much enjoying the event. So today we can go to the next slide. I think I am here to ask for continued support with from Council and North Grenville. It is truly a community project in that it's a community engaged festival where the aspects of the festival are created by the members of the public. And yes, there are some great photos of Councilwoman Strachan making a lantern with her son. It's a free festival as well, so fully accessible to everyone of all abilities, all ages. It's also very accessible as far as financially. We strive to make it a free event and have sliding scales at workshops, if not free workshops, so that everyone can enjoy and partake in the festivities. And we hope to actually add more workshops this year, include some costume making and also some singing and musical workshops as well. So, I mean, this year I'm asking for support for a number of reasons, to leverage municipal support to access other federal and provincial funding, to show that we've got local support really does help capture funds from the wider grant world, and also to grow the festival a little bit, not in huge leaps and bounds, but in little steps, to grow this event into a cornerstone event in North Grenville. We're hoping to expand a little bit, expand the programming, expand the performers that we offer and the types of performances that we offer. We're also hoping to capture some funding to pay for the workshops, but also to pay for some of the performers and artists that do come to entertain us
And hopefully those will be all local. So supporting the creative economy in North Grenville is super important to the festival. We can go to the next slide, please. So, I mean, there's some other great photos of what happened during the parade, the gathering. You can see that there was hundreds of people who actually participated in the parade, despite the cold and windy night, and we had great fun. We can go to the next slide as well. We did have many volunteers who showed up to help with our festival. Next year, we're hoping to grow the numbers to about 15 volunteers, each with a commitment of at least 2 to 4 hours each. So that's quite a great commitment, even though it is just a short event in the evening. Can go to the next slide. I mean, on that slide, I was emphasizing the fact that we like to pay fair rates and union and CARFAC rates for our artists and musicians, so to support their living as well. And maybe the next slide, there's a thank you to our volunteers. We are seeking funding from the Trillium Foundation. I'm seeking funding from Heritage Canada, as well as the Ontario Arts Council. My ask is just a small part of what the total of the festival will be. And again, I'm hoping to use this to leverage available funds in other funding agents. And next slide, please. So there we go. There's just some stats there to let you know who came and how many people came. And that we're hoping to get to be a little bigger and a little better and a little brighter in 2023. And that is all I have. I hope I answered all the questions that were expected of me.
Apologies, I was on mute. Thank you very much. This is a great presentation, Suzanne. I'll just look to council colleagues for any questions. Questions? Councilor Strachan, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much, Suzanne, for your presentation. Just very quickly, regarding the point about seeking out other funding sources, so that's great to hear. Do you require a commitment from the municipality in order to access those funds? Is there some connection there that would prevent you from getting those funds if the municipality didn't support it as well?
Yes and no, in that commitment and support looks differently to different agencies. So sometimes what they consider an in-kind support is very helpful, and that can be just promotion. That could be support in offering spaces free to hold workshops and things like that, which I know the library does offer that, so that is considered support. Yeah, it doesn't have to look like a lot. It just needs to look like it will be a successful event because the locals and the local government is supporting it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. Thank you very much, Suzanne. And my son cringed at the fact that you put his photo in the presentation, but I
oh gosh.
Thank you.
Teenagers.
How many volunteers would you have had for this last event, which I think was the second, right?
Yeah, probably 10 or 12. Yeah, we had a number of people help out with setup and with tear down, and also with parking. Parking was manned by or maintained by volunteers, which is an important duty at Maplewood Park because of the access to the fire hall, as well as the traffic. So yeah, we even had a few people marshal who helped make sure we were safe when we paraded. So I'm hoping we need more volunteers, and of course it's always attracting volunteers is very difficult. So I'm hoping to find ways to do that as well, be inventive in attracting people to help out, as well as youth. We had a number of youth volunteers, which was quite great.
Great. And just quickly, Suzanne, do you have a formal partnership with the Oxford Mills Community Association, or is this separate?
It is separate. They kind of act as a bit of a host and in almost like a location host. And really the real capacity the OMCA is taken in the last 2 years is they've operated a canteen to raise money for the OMCA. And so that's sort of their main role in the festival. But I take a step away from the OMCA when I put on this festival and act as an independent.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I know you've gotten lots of support, so it's a wonderful event for Oxford Mills and the
Yes.
community writ large. And
Yeah.
I do hope to be able to make it finally this year. I've been out of town, both on both the first and the second iteration. Okay, I think that's great. I don't see any other questions from council colleagues, so I think we'll move on. Appreciate your work, Suzanne, and we'll stay in touch. All right. So next, I believe, is it Kim Hughes? Are you here on behalf of Mr. Finney this evening? Okay, I think you're on mute. And this is the North Grenville Walking Tours.
Yes.
Okay, welcome.
Yes, Mr. Finney sends his apologies. He's taking on a different role within the society, and he's asked me to make this presentation tonight. So good evening, Your Honor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this opportunity to present. The North Grenville Historical Society seeks the assistance of the municipality to create videos based on the 4 walking tours that cover the old town neighborhoods of Kemptville. There has been a history of collaboration between the society and the municipality on the production of these walking tours. If this proposal is successful, we would continue this collaboration, working closely with the North Grenville Tourism Coordinator, Heather Curry. The videos would be available for posting on Explore North Grenville, our own website, and additional sites such as YouTube, with links on other internet and social media sites. They would enable residents and visitors to walk and listen as they visit historical sites around town. It is time for us to take this resource to the next level to reach new and more sophisticated audiences. These video tours are becoming popular around the country, and we're told even in Saskatoon, they have video walking tours available. This initiative will support tourism and local businesses and spread knowledge of local heritage in the community. We intend to promote their use widely, including to local schools, grades 7 to 12. Promotion, of course, would be key to the success of this endeavor. The proposal aligns with the strategic plan. There are more details available for those who want to see the fine print on the application form, but it's particularly aligns with pillar number 1, preserving our heritage and history and fostering an even better quality of life for all residents. It also supplements the approved tourism strategy, goal 11.1, and other goals as specified. We anticipate at least 8 volunteers to be extensively involved, as well as a local professional videographer and translation editor. The volunteer component of the project is expected to require in excess of 200 volunteer hours. The Society considers this to be a priority project and will contribute $1,500 of its own funds to its realization. This is, however, only the beginning of a larger effort, which would make all 7 of the walking tours available in video format. We have included $400 in seed money to explore the feasibility of developing an app that would eventually enable the videos to be accessed automatically from any of the locations included in the tours. This may be by means of a QR code. There are lots of models, but it would be something similar to the Hot Points. If any of you have been to an art gallery that offers an audio tour, each painting has a a code which enables you to listen to a description of the painting. Such applications, that is, walking tour applications, already exist, but they are commercial applications and are very costly. The first phase in our project, however, will be to update the texts with any new information that may have come to light and to correct errors that may have crept in. English and French versions will be produced since we consider the provision of the tour videos in both official languages to be essential. We are confident that we can find bilingual volunteers who will be able to provide a rough translation of the existing texts. We also feel that it would be prudent to allow $800 to retain the services of a professional translator to revise and edit the final versions. We would urge council to consider favorably our request for a grant of $1,500 to help us realize the potential for video self-guided tours of the heritage assets of our outstanding community. Thank you very much for your attention. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you so much, Ken, and thanks for stepping in for David. I'll recognize Deputy Mayor, please.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, to Ken. My question is whether $1,500 or $3,000 is enough to achieve your goals. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately because I come from a background in film and video, and I understand that a lot of the technology is increased, and there's a lot of do-it-yourself kind of equipment and software out there to create videos that used to cost tens of thousands of dollars back when I was active in the industry. But it seems very modest, your request or your budget. And I'm just wondering, are you confident in the kind of quotes that you've had? And maybe this is a question for David, and you can't answer it, but are you confident that you can produce, 4 videos for under $3,000 and do all the translation and the extra work required to have people to be able to access them as walking tours? I correct me if I'm wrong, but are you expecting people to be able to walk down the street and play the videos on their digital devices?
Yes.
Ken, over to you. Yeah.
Yes, it would basically be using their phones. The Saskatoon reference relates to somebody who came into the History Hub, and we had a conversation about what their experience had been visiting Saskatoon for the first time. And the quote, as far as the cost, is for a 7-minute video. We may not be able to include a full walking tour, but we would include highlights. And it's mainly to explore the feasibility of doing this on a broader scale. We have a quote of $450 per 7-minute video. And it's by someone who is a professional videographer, Devon Wallace, if you know him. He has produced videos for us with David Shanahan in the past. So we're quite pleased with the quality of the work that he does. But this is just the start of something that we hope to expand in future years.
So I'm assuming that there's a lot of volunteer hours involved. And that
A
you
lot
really
of volunteer hours, yes.
You haven't really priced out the value of those volunteer hours. So in terms of trying to do this without volunteers, it's tens of thousands of dollars to do it. You have talented volunteers that are contributing to the project, I assume.
Yes, that's correct. We estimate 200 hours of volunteer work involved in this, and the bulk of the translation will be done by in-house volunteers.
Okay, great.
Okay, any other questions? for this one? Can, your expectation is you could produce all videos in this 1 year? Is that right?
Four to start with.
Four, okay.
Yes, and they would be strictly within the footprint of the old town of Kemptville.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I missed that part. Okay, so 4 to start. And then just quickly, how would you promote them? I'm just curious. What would be your promotion strategy?
Well, we haven't worked it out in great detail yet, but we certainly have contacts within the schools. And we have a kids program that is starting up, so we can use that and snowball the efforts to get it recognized by kids in the upper grades of the schools. But we have a good working relationship with the North Grenville Times. We have social media presence, all of the means that we can bring to bear in collaboration with the tourism coordinator of the municipality, who has in the past been very helpful in promoting the walking tours.
Okay. Okay, that's great. Thank you. I think we'll leave it there. I don't see any other hands. And the clock is ticking, but this is great, Ken. Thank you for stepping in for David and providing this fulsome explanation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm glad ideas are being generated at the History Hub. That's what we were hoping for. Some good walk-in traffic and lots of engagement with the community. Thank you.
It's an interesting place to be. You should come by.
Indeed, I hope it is. Thank you. We'll definitely try to drop by again soon.
Thank you.
All right. I think next we're going to move on. Colleagues, council colleagues, you're good to continue. Maybe we'll take a short break around after our next presenter, but we'll welcome Courtney. It's Vezina, right? Courtney, is that right?
Vezina.
Vezina, I really apologize.
Yeah, that is okay. Everybody gets it wrong.
Okay, Courtney Vezina. Thank you. I'll know for next time. Welcome, Courtney. Thank you. Fire away.
Thank you. Thank you for the welcome. I'm happy to be here. So my name is Courtney Vezina, and I am the owner and clinical director of Courtney James Counseling and Psychotherapy. A nice little segue from the Historical Society. We're actually located in the original library of Kemptville, so at 207 Prescott Street, which is a cute little building there. Anyways, we are a team. Myself, and the team are a group of registered professionals that offer mental health support services to individuals, couples, and families. That includes children all the way up to adult ages. And my request today is for the provision of funds to implement community-based psychotherapy groups that would be free of charge to those attending. As an already established mental health facility, we do have a meeting space in our basement of the building that we have. So that would be my proposed place where these meetings and group therapy sessions would be offered. The resources needed that were included in this proposal were physical materials and then the physical space, but more importantly, the facilitators who are providing the groups themselves. So like I said, we're a team of mental health professionals who are excited to be able to provide a group setting for cohesive and collaborative mental health support. And we would be able to focus on a variety of topics using our own personal strengths and background educational supports, whether that is focused on teen social anxiety groups, emotion regulation skills for children, parenting challenges and divorce support groups, grief support groups, etc. And we would be happy to build upon those as we saw the need proposed. And then furthermore, advertising and administration costs are in that proposal as well. I just wanted to point out that, given the aftermath, during and aftermath of COVID-19, we have noticed an increase in community members actually reaching out for support, and it has been so encouraging. And we are excited about this and want to jump on this and be able to offer some very accessible services. There are other, free and reduced cost accessible resources in our community, which I'm happy to offer referrals to some of the clients that come through us. But I also recognize that the wait lists for those services are huge. There's the need far outweighs what is being offered at this time. And I would like to be able to step into the middle ground somewhere in there. And then I also wanted to touch on we don't make use of volunteers at our practice, but we do have clinical interns who are completing their placements for master's level education. And that is, they're not called volunteers, but they are providing unpaid services so that they can further their education. And my goal would be to have them be a large part of being able to implement these groups so that they can gain experience, but also to be able to provide them with additional support being present in the groups. Lastly, we would measure the success of our programs by monitoring the reception of group advertisements themselves and how we see the correlation between advertisements and then corresponding actual group attendance. And then an exciting part of it could be some pre and post test measurements where they would be completed by consenting members anonymously, and it would help us gather insight into the impact of the group content, the impact of the facilitators, and the overall well-being upon completion of these programs. One thing I do want to touch on after some of these questions that I've heard come through, I'm a big picture person, and so my proposal going into this was very much, thinking, this 7 or 8 month span and having groups running continuously throughout that time. So before you ask Deputy Mayor Barkley, I would be happy to chop these numbers and just to have them on a smaller scale. Like I said, I was thinking 7, 8 months, being very consistent in that. So dividing any of those numbers by 8, and that would be a rough kind of monthly idea, or a monthly, and by monthly, I mean being able to run a cohesive group within that time. And I'm open to questions.
Thank you. And before we go to Deputy Mayor, I'm just going to jump in here. Courtney, as you know, I think access to mental health in North Grenville is certainly a passion of a lot of ours. I was curious because I know that the Kemptville Youth Center and the Kemptville District Hospital do have some initiatives that are intended to to either connect people to existing mental health resources or raise awareness, right, about the value, right, of connecting with mental health providers. And I guess I'm just curious about whether or not you've had any conversations, and I understand why you may not. I mean, what's unique about your proposal, if I might, is that you have what I assume from this proposal is you have practitioners that are ready to go, that if their time was paid, this is a service that is available, and it's not about wait lists, right? It's actually about actioning some existing resources through your practice.
Exactly.
If I'm hearing you correctly, and then providing the space in your building, which is a lovely building. Many of us have been in that building, and the groups would be, if I understand it correct, are peer support groups facilitated by an expert. Is that correct? Is it a peer support element when you talk about psychotherapy groups?
No, that wasn't the direction I was originally going. It would be more psychotherapist led and
Psychotherapist led,
yes.
right? And
but engaging in that community piece where we can feel connected,
feel supported, and that you may have peers, right, who are having a very similar experience in these groups, right?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I'll leave it there. I'll just go to Deputy Mayor, and I'll look for any other hands. Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney, and thanks for anticipating my question that I asked to 2 other groups. It really helps. I mean, as I go through all these outlines, the justification for some of these programs, I mean, they're all justified. So my question is not based on the value of the project. It's just helping us out when we have to deliberate and decide how to spend a limited pot of money on very worthwhile projects. My question is sort of related to the presentation that we had from Suzanne Larner about leveraging funds from upper levels of government. We're a lower tier, and we find ourselves, because of the demands of the community as we're growing, that we're asked to spend more and more money on what is called non-jurisdictional areas. And I wondered if a little bit of money from the municipality to community-based psychology group proposal, as you said, couldn't help you leverage money from the counties or the province. I don't know if you've looked at that, but you might be able to leverage some money from upper levels of government with support from us. So I don't know how we're early on. We've got another day of presentations. We have 25 great projects. You know, it would help us. You've already answered the question, scalability, but maybe it deserves further conversation once we get through all the proposals about how to do what you'd like to do with some money from other levels of government. Thanks.
Thank you.
And maybe Courtney, maybe I'm going to recognize Councillor Strakian because I know our time is limited, and perhaps you can answer all three questions in one answer. So Councillor Strakian, why don't we go over to you, and then we'll turn it back to Courtney for some closing comments.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you for the presentation. And yes, I echo what the mayor and deputy mayor have said as far as the importance and recognizing the need for it in the community, especially since COVID-19. We talked about scalability, and that could be in the sense of the number of groups or the number of sessions and so on, and scope in that sense. Your request does speak to making those sessions free. Is another option for scalability so that you don't leave out any particular area, also to have a far reduced cost so that you cover those? Is that part of your consideration as well?
Definitely, and thank you for bringing that up. I did mean to touch on that as well. Yes, I for one would be in complete support of that, and I have experience proposing or advertising for those types of supports currently as well. So I would be open to being able to incorporate that, knowing that they've been kind of subsidized in a way through some funding. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. So Deputy Mayor, your hand is up, but I don't think you intend for it to stay up. I just want to correct the impression that it's very typical for the counties to provide community grants. So province, yes, many different PASA funds out there, but I'm not sure the counties would be among them at the present moment. That being said, Courtney, if you could just quickly speak to that question around partnerships or conversations with KDH, our youth center, et cetera. Any conversations to date?
Actually, sorry, you're reminding me. I have met with the director of the youth center. This was a while back, and kind of just in a more of a casual conversation. I kind of dropped in on them one day and asked if I could have a chat when we were opening up, just to make our presence known. So, dropping off some business cards, that sort of thing, and just saying like, hey, we're here in the community. As far as collaborating along with them, no, I haven't. And I think that there is value in that as well, for sure.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Thank you.
But really at the crux of your proposal is that you have trained therapists who are positioned to run these groups. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have the space and the time. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to submit a proposal and presenting to us and being in dialogue with us this evening. We really, really appreciate it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Take care. Okay. So next, I think we have Jane. Jane, are you with us? Jane Couch?
Hi there, I'm coming.
Okay.
Hi there. Yay. I have no presentation, which
Excellent.
is which is actually half of the requested my proposal. Basically, my proposal is to ask if we can be supportive this year the same way we were last year. The art group, we don't really have a name. Are we the Arts Hub? I don't know. But we're just a group of people that are in the library every Saturday morning, and we have we keep growing, so we need to buy more supplies. I think we even need to buy the library a new table or two, because we're growing so fast, which is really kind of cool, because it's just a bunch of people getting together to draw, and And I give them free lessons, and I make sure the materials are there, and I make sure, you know, whatever the projects they're doing, they can do better. So that's just a little group that wants to keep going. In my proposal, I included 2 letters from people in support that are in the group in support of this. The group covers the entire gamut of ages. I said that you had to be 12 years of age and up, and the reason is because if I'm teaching you a lesson, if you understand geometry, you'll understand the lesson a little better. But I actually have a little girl that's that's only 10, and she's working hard. So, and then I've got people that are in their 60s or 70s. And I have teenage boys, which I think is really cool. We have 2 of them. Sorry, I digress. So the point is, I'd like to be able to keep that group going. And they would like to keep going. They even show up without me. And what we'd like is, if at all possible, and so John, this is how you could divide it if you were put in that position, to answer your question. The next part of the grant, and I go through and in the proposal, I give percentages of each, but the second part of the grant is so that I could hire a youth digital entrepreneur in town. There's a couple of young people in town that have started their own computer digital companies, because I'm terrible. I'm old now, so I'm terrible at the digital aspect, which is why there's no fancy graphics. So I need to hire somebody that can facilitate that in order for the group to grow. And I do have to admit, I was going to take Councillor Barkley at one of his suggestions, and that is just throw it out there and see what takes when it comes to the community grants, and not put any guidelines on it. So when I sort of threw that out there, I didn't actually have an answer to why we should have a digital assistant. But listening to all the proposals of the just the ones I'm listening to here that were in the arts, Herb's, Suzanne's. I know that there's the piano concert as well. I know there's a writer's thing. And because of the art challenge that I'm doing, I email our group every week, because I email so that they can be prepared for the challenge, because they may have to bring something in on Saturday when they come to the library. And maybe we could turn our weekly email into Arts Hub newsletter, and we can promote all the things. And then even if we just expand the newsletter, that facilitates a reason why we should have a digital assistant, because I'm completely incompetent at that. And I can only do so much. Please.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you, Jane. So just quickly, how many participants have you had? Is it like a drop-in?
Yes, technically it's drop-in. No one's committed to it, except the fact that I give everybody a hard-covered sketchbook.
Okay.
And then we were starting to work on a bunch of programs with stickers and other things too, but that's besides the point. We get more people showing up every week. I get new people showing up, and the same people who were there keep coming back, and all the people that were there before Christmas have come back, and all the people that were there last year during the pandemic when, you know, there were only like 6 of us. Everybody keeps coming back. So we keep growing even since the last time I sort of took advantage of you and sent you a picture, showed you that, oh, look how many people are here. Because I couldn't post it on social media because I didn't get everybody's approval, which is why I sort of shamelessly included it in an email to Mayor Peckford. So I apologize for that. But I've had 2 more people email me in the last 2 days to say, can we come? So we just keep growing.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. So I'll just go to council colleagues. Any other questions?
Sorry, did I talk fast enough through that? I think I think actually we might have to buy the library 2 new tables unless we can figure out a way to fit everybody around the tables. So we're working on floor plans because everybody has to be able to. The one really nice thing about the group, I don't know if anybody's taken the opportunity to pop their head in, but it's just a circle of people around a table sharing pencil crayons, and everybody's included and everybody shares, and it covers everybody. It's a very heartwarming place to be for an hour on a Saturday morning because everybody's included.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for describing some of the successes and the appetite for that kind of group. It's wonderful to hear. So I don't see any other hands, Jane. So in the interest of time, I'm going to move on, but of course we'll be in touch if we have other questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, and good luck picking, because wow, what a community. It's great.
That is really, that's it in a nutshell, eh? What a community. All right. So maybe colleagues will power through one more and then take a 5-minute water break, wellness break. But we'll welcome Anne to do her presentation, and then we'll just take a very quick break before our last 4 presenters. Hello.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Anne.
Hello, Madam Mayor, and good evening, North Grenville Council and community grant applicants. If we can start the presentation, that would be great. I am Anne Lalone, a 30-year member of Oxford Mill Sisterhood of Guiding. We are asking for a grant today so we can update some of our equipment. Next slide, please. First, let me tell you a little bit about OMSG. We're a total of 38 youth, 10 guiders, ranging in age from 5 to 65. We have first-time campers, established campers, and adventure campers who enjoy winter tenting and canoe tripping. And I am also one of the lucky members to be able to go on the trip. I'm sure you've seen around that we are heading, raising funds and heading out to Alberta this summer. So looking very forward to that. Next slide, please. This is a picture of our current bus storage. So it is not mobile. In fact, it is sinking so far into the ground that we can barely get the door open. There are missing windows or ones that won't close properly. There's a gaping rust hole in the back door. It is mouse and snake ridden. There is a tilt to it, often causing the storage bins to topple over. I'm the only one brave enough, or silly enough maybe, to enter this death trap. As you can see, it's unsafe and undesirable, so it can no longer be locked. It currently sits on the residence of a former guider. It's unsecured, unfriendly to the ecosystem around it. We have plenty of camping equipment we've offered for the North Grenville Guiding and Scouting units to use, including our 10 bunk bed cots and winter tent that we purchased through the help of the community grant in 2015. Sadly, they have never been requested outside of OMSG. So we feel this is due to the nature of the current storage setup. It takes quite a bit of time and effort to transfer the camping equipment to a leader's vehicle and trailer, especially in the snow. Next slide, please. So to solve our, oh, you can't see that, I'm sorry. So to solve our storage nightmares, we would like to purchase a used cargo trailer, big enough to house all of our valuable equipment. Since we have qualified family members within the sisterhood that are willing to do the mechanical maintenance and customize the shelving within the trailer and ensure that the equipment is balanced and secured when traveling. We feel that the mobile storage unit would better meet the diverse needs of all North Grenville Guiding and Scouting and allow the leaders to focus on programming for the youth, not having to worry about the effort needed to get the materials and equipment to camp. We feel that keeping the trailer locked in a current guider's plowed driveway makes it far more secured and easily accessible for any leader. And by removing the bus from the current location, the homeowner has said that we could plant trees or vegetation to assist in reestablishing a healthy ecosystem in that area. So on the yellow that you see there, I'll just read what it says. Basically, that the storage trailer would certainly benefit the community by including all North Grenville Guiding and Scouting units that would be encouraged to just hitch up and go camping. It aligns with the North Grenville strategic plan as it reinforces North Grenville's plan for a strong, connected, and vibrant community as we work together to providing camping opportunities. It encourages us to reduce our environmental impact within North Grenville and allows opportunities for new vegetative growth. Next slide, please. So the trailer is the highest priority, and that's where the majority of the grant money would be used, but we are also in need of some additional equipment. A new 4-season tent and new Coleman stove would replace the 10-year-old pieces that we had to retire this past fall. The additional equipment would also allow the sisterhood the opportunity to all camp together again, as we often do in the summer. I've already mentioned the shelving that would have to be customized to fit the current equipment and ensure for safe traveling. The storage bins are certainly desirable to assist in ensuring the craft and other camp materials are organized and accessible. Too often our units spend unnecessarily on craft materials because it's just not known what's available, not easy to get to, or it's been damaged. Next slide, please. So we do anticipate the project to cost a total of $7,000. So what does this mean for NG? OMSG is proposing the grant cover half of the project cost, completed over 2 years. So we're asking for $1,750 this year and $1,750 in 2024. So we will fundraise the other half of the funds needed to complete the project by November of 2024. This is due to the fact that Girl Guides Canada fundraising rules. It's a sizable project, so would need for us to sell a minimum of 160 cases of cookies, which when factoring in existing fundraising efforts for Alberta, reality is the project fundraising would have to begin late this summer at the earliest. So as you can see, annual costs on the right-hand side there would be minimal. OMSG would bear any future expenses associated with the project, and we expect that we would take nearly 10 volunteers to put in about 100 hours, in addition to the numerous hours putting toward fundraising, of course, to make this project a success. Next slide, please. So how would we measure the success? So first, the purchase of the youth trailer would initiate the project success rate, specifically when the camping equipment and material are organized and secured in the trailer and it's available to any leader. Secondly, when we can all go camping again. Thirdly, once the bus has been removed and vegetation has been planted, then we will have established a healthier ecosystem. And ultimately, our highest success factor for this project would be when another scouting or guiding unit in North Granville requests to use the trailer and equipment. And last slide, just thank you for considering our request, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And the mobile storage unit means that you can bring it along on these camping trips. Is that
Exactly.
correct?
Yes.
So you're storing, but you're also enabling use of the equipment on those various field trips, camping trips. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
So right
And
now
then-
we actually use my personal trailer most often, and in the winter it's not often available because I snowmobile, of course. So
Gotcha. Right.
Makes it tricky for sure.
Okay, perfect. And your proposal is to make this trailer available to other guiding organizations or scouting organizations in the
Yeah.
community, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And it would just be stored on personal property like the current bus? Is it a bus or, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, it is currently a bus, yeah.
Okay, and the security of the supplies now, I noted in the application, you referred to the unit as a death trap with lots of snakes and mice, among other things. How is your equipment being stored now? Is it secure?
It's not really secure. So it's in that bus that you see.
Okay.
We can't even lock it anymore. Like I say, I mean, the property it's on is way back in, and there's nobody that really sees it.
Right.
So
Right.
we're not too concerned about theft. But there is close to $10,000 probably in that bus worth of camping equipment. that we
Gotcha.
Need to make
Right.
make it a little more accessible and more secure and away from the mice.
Indeed. And then just tell me how many, of course, I had the pleasure of joining you guys a couple of months ago at the Snowmobile Club for one of your weekly meetings. How many how many kids would you and youth do you have in your current program?
So in total, so including Sparks,
Yep.
now Embers that they're called.
Yes, I was gonna, I know there were new words. Yes. Okay.
That's right. So Sparks, Embers, Guides, Pathfinders, and Rangers, we're totaling 38 youth right now.
Okay, awesome. And are they coming from all over North Granville, or do you find they're mostly
You
in
bet.
the
Actually,
outskirts?
we've got some from South Mountain. We've got some. We're in Bishop's Mills. We've got some out as far as Merrickville that come to us.
Okay.
So we spread quite a distance for sure.
You're kind of regional. You're regional. Okay.
Mhm. And quite a
Great.
few from Kempville. Mhm.
Of course. Okay. Awesome. Any other questions, colleagues? I'm not seeing any. So thank you, Anne. I know that you and
My pleasure.
I know you and the various Girl Guides are fundraising vigorously for your Alberta
You bet.
trip. We look forward to the dinner, the Greek dinner that you're hosting in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Do you still have tickets available? I meant to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we do still have tickets. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you for this presentation and for
Thank you.
contemplating leveraging some of your own fundraising efforts after you get through the big Alberta trip, in addition to seeking some of our support. We appreciate it. This was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So council colleagues, we're just going to take a 5-minute break just so we can get through the last 4. Just got three members of council, so we're going to carry on. I'm sure Council Barkley will be with us momentarily. So welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me and for inviting all of us to come and present our requests in person. It's so wonderful that you're engaged in this way. So I am sitting in for our Executive Director, Leslie Hubbard, who is actually participating in one of the programs that I'm going to be talking about this evening, the Groceries for Girls program. So if you can bring up my presentation, hopefully you have that. No? Okay. How about,
do you want us to skip ahead if the presentation is important and we could come back to you?
the presentation would be great. I will, I'll get that to you and yeah, thank
We can
you.
put you at the end and that way you don't have to make it up as you go along, especially if you're filling in for Leslie. All right.
Thank you.
So we'll move on. And do you want to do that this evening then? Do you think you can get the presentation in time?
Oh yeah,
Or would
no,
you
I'm
prefer
happy.
another day?
I have it right in front of me. It's just that
Okay,
you
perfect.
don't have it for whatever reason.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we'll move on and we'll put you at the end. There's just 3 others in any case. So I will welcome Christine Janis. Hello again, Christine.
Hi there.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for having me this evening. I've got a presentation. I'm going to try and cover off 3 requests in one shot, and we're going to talk about carpet, we're going to talk about doors, and we're going to talk about keeping ourselves safe.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Next slide. So, we've got an issue with the carpeting that surrounds our, actually, let me start by saying, I don't envy any of you for the job you have in front of you, because the proposals that you've seen are all, they're actually, they warm the heart. I'm actually unfortunately going to be talking about really practical things that come with having an aging building, an aging facility. So less fun, less awe-inspiring, but kind of critically necessary. So we're going to talk about carpeting around the ice. We're going to talk about our doors and talk about because of COVID and our recognition that we want to keep ourselves safe and keep anybody that comes into the building safe. Some tactics that we're looking at for healthy hand washing. Next slide. So I'm going to go through the questions that you asked of us and in general, and I'm not going to read through everything because you can all read, but I'm going to focus on the fact that these requests, all of them, because we are a local not-for-profit organization, these actually strike at the very heart of our organizational capacity. And because we are a volunteer organization, it strengthens volunteerism in the community. And a lot of the people that we serve in our club are seniors and youth. And as you can see, when we bring events to the club, when we bring bonspiels, we're enhancing tourism and getting people involved. Next slide. So everything that happens at our club happens because of volunteers. We get 100% of our, or we aim to get 100% of our members volunteering. We have about 320 adult members, each of whom dedicates at least 20 hours, and they do whatever it takes, whether it's as happened this week, fixing a leaking toilet in the men's washroom, to organizing a bonspiel, to writing articles or writing newsletters. Everybody is involved. So every face you see in that picture, plus add another, 250 more, are people who are actively engaged with the club. And they come from not only here, or not only in Kemptville, but from the wider North Grenville area and beyond. Next slide. So why do we need help from you now? Well, and I apologize for any of the spelling issues here. We've got an aging arena, and I think as many of you on council know, this has been leased to the club many years ago. It needs ongoing updates in order to keep it safe and in order to keep all of the people who use it healthy. Beyond curling, we now are beginning to be able to host events. There's a camp that runs there in the summer. There's pickleball that runs there in the summer. Heydays takes place there. But COVID has really affected us negatively over the last couple of years and affected our finances. We're beginning to build back, but we really see a deficit in first of all, our number of adult members, but also in our youth programs and in our Little Rocks. This year, we've had some unexpected costs of about $25,000, which have pretty much knocked our budget sideways, and that's actually why we need to come to you now. Also, we are looking at strategies and at other granting programs like Trillium. And I think, as has been raised before, getting support from the municipality will actually strengthen those applications. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, thanks. So I don't know if any of you have seen the series Ted Lasso. But if you have, then you'll know that there's a character in there who says, football is life. Well, I think it's a metaphor for the fact that curling, or any sport where groups of people come together and are active, is what life is about. And curling clubs, busy curling clubs like ours, are the very fabric of life in Canada. So we use the club and the facility for more than just curling. It is the center. It actually is physically in the center of Kemptville and in the center of the greater municipality. Serves everyone from the age of 5 all the way to 95, and we think that improving and maintaining the infrastructure of the building, of the facility, actually makes it an attractive place for everybody to come to. And one thing that I just didn't really realize, but I learned this year, is that we have, and this is a good thing, we have arena ice, and arena ice for curling is actually better often than ice that is built specifically for curling rinks. And that the ice itself is more consistent, and it's the kind of ice that people who go to competitions want to go to, which actually, this is something that we're working with right now and thinking about, is creating a strategic plan for growth and for getting funding around creating a center of excellence for curling in Eastern Ontario. Now, there is one in Ottawa, but we are well positioned here in Kemptville, in North Grenville, because we're between Ottawa and the 401, to be a location that can become a curling center of excellence, which means more training, more bonspiels, more people coming to our municipality. Next slide. So I'm going to focus on 3 projects now. One is the doors. We have about 13 doors, 13 old doors and 1 new door. As you can see from some of the pictures there, some of the doors have huge huge gaps and are leaking, and one door leaked so badly that the concrete underneath it has degraded. That door has been replaced, but that's about to be happening elsewhere. The door on the upper right, the blue door, doesn't close properly, and that's the main door in and out of the building. We have fixed a rear door, the frame around it, because it was rotting, but it was a temporary fix. And so we are looking for some funding to fix these doors. And unfortunately, it's actually quite expensive to fix these doors. So we're asking for 10,000 each for 2 doors. Our plan is to actually leverage this into a grant request for doors and other infrastructural things to Trillium in their capital grants program. Next slide, please. In terms of key performance indicators or success factors, those would obviously be the repair of the doors. We would gather 2 quotes, and we'd be looking at volunteer engagement of a minimum of 4 volunteers would probably put in about 60 hours each. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go through the budget this once using the doors grant as an example, and we've put it in as a as an input on the income side. As I think the council knows, we have a building fund that every year when our members pay their dues, a certain amount gets tucked away into a fund with the municipality. So our income there, you can see, includes almost 30,000 that will be held by the municipality. So that's not actually money that we have in our hot little hands to use for our expenses. And you can see those on the next slide, please. Next slide. Oh, and the other thing I want to say about this, oh, not yet. Back one, please. Thank you. That this budget was actually set last summer, and I have adjusted to add in this extra 25,000, the maintenance, which will show you that in terms of cash flow, we're going to be in a deficit position because of the 30,000 that goes over into the municipality. And if you take that 30 away, then that's, I don't know if you're following me here, but we're actually going to be short about $20,000 in terms of our actual operating income.
So Christine, maybe just quickly, because I know most of council has this question, is you set aside a certain amount, right? For capital upgrades. I think you called it crisis moments in the curling club. So we know that there's a lease that you pay, and then there's some reserve dollars that are set aside. In past years, I think we've worked with our Director of Parks and Rec to support you in prioritizing certain investments in the building. So is the rationale for this community grants request that you don't feel that you have jurisdiction over those reserve funds, or are you saving them for sort of bigger unforeseen events? We're just trying to figure that piece out.
Okay, that's a really great question. And I had that one myself, because it didn't make sense to me either that we had this reserve fund and we were asking for funds to repair things. So as I understand it from the board, the president, and I'm new to the board this year, is that money, and I think there's about 70,000, that is a calamity fund. So if the chiller breaks or if the roof caves in, and I don't believe they feel that they've got, or that we feel we've got, the kind of jurisdiction
I see. Okay.
that we want to have over that. But also I feel like there's so much that's going on in that building, and so much of the equipment is at the very end of its useful life. My sense of, and again, I take this as a newcomer to the board, my sense is that there's a real reticence to touch that, because holy Christmas, we might just need that. And we'd be in real trouble if we couldn't get a chiller and we had no ice.
Okay, so fundamentally, you see these things as a bit ancillary to the functioning, the core functioning of the building. These proposals for doors, et cetera, are less foundational to the day-to-day operations of the curling club. Is that what I am to understand?
Well, yes and no.
Right.
I mean, they're almost like crisis band-aids that we kind of need to cover off, and the budget is just so tight.
Okay.
It's just so tight that it's difficult to I mean, in reality, there are some things that we're just going to have to fix, and we're going to have to find the money somehow, right? And some of these things are absolutely that. There are some nice to haves in these requests, but there are definitely some things that we really need to hit.
Okay, so understood. So let's get through the rest of the presentation, and then if we need to have an offline conversation with the Director of Parks and Rec, then we can do that as a separate effort. So why don't we get you through your presentation in this last 5 minutes?
Yeah, okay, perfect. Next slide, please. So in the curling rink, for those of you that haven't been in there, all around the outside of the ice surface, there is a carpet, and it's on boards, and it has, and I don't know how long it's been there, but it is in really a bad state of repair. And actually, probably about 3 or 4 days ago, I would have said that's a secondary concern to the doors issue. However, one of our elderly members actually tripped on a carpet and was in Kemptville Hospital, and then moved up to Ottawa Hospital a couple of days ago. And so it's a real safety hazard. And I know carpets were on the request list last year, and instead, and again, this is before my time, but the carpets inside the inside the lounge were replaced, but these weren't. We think that we can get them completely redone and make them safe, as well as and the other thing that happens is with these little fibers, they end up on the ice and they degrade the ice surface, and they make it dangerous to be on the ice. I didn't think it was as big a deal until this happened this week. So next slide.
Okay.
So again, our KPIs are 3 quotes, the actual work being done, and volunteer engagement of 4 volunteers, 40 or 50 hours. Next slide. Okay. And finally, we looked at how do we respond to COVID, and what are things that we could do to make our facility a better facility from a health and safety perspective. And we looked at changing our 11 high touch hand washing facilities in the restrooms into touchless ones, and the cost of that would be about $6,500. And it would be part of a plan to improve accessibility as well. So this falls very much into the nice to have category. And given all the things that are in front of you and I'm hearing some of these projects, I can this would be one where to answer Deputy Mayor's question, this would be the one where we could scale that back.
Okay. Great.
Next slide. Those are the KPIs. Next slide. And so those are the asks. Next slide. And there's our rationale. We want to maintain key infrastructure. We want to attract guests from out of town. We are increasingly moving towards expanding the use of the facility. And it's an old facility, it needs help. And we got lots of volunteers. And actually to that end, to the multi-use, I'm actually hearing some of these presentations and thinking some of these community groups could be using our lounge. And if there's a way that we can interface with more community groups, we would be able to make some of that space available. So that
that's wonderful. Yeah, that lounge definitely has value. And there's such limited community gathering spaces in North Grenville. We appreciate that you're thinking along those lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. last slide is just a thank you.
Okay, so council colleagues, I think we asked the crucial question, which is, was there another way to resource some of this, some of these proposals, which obviously, to your point, Christine, are so pretty helpful in terms of how the building operates and how people experience that facility. So I don't want to diminish the fact that obviously they're very key. So thank you. But we likely will try to find a way to potentially maybe tap into some of those reserve dollars. Who's to say? It sounds like another conversation is definitely warranted. So thanks for your time tonight. It was really helpful to hear the rationale and where you're coming from as a board member. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna move on, and I think we have Dwayne with us from the Kemptville Disc Club. Dwayne, are you here?
Yes, I am. Hello, Mayor.
Awesome. All right.
How are you tonight?
We're good. We're good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, I'll get to the point. I'd like to see my slides up there if I could.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. You can go to the next slide. Okay, this is just an outline of the presentation I'm going to present tonight. I'm Dwayne Dowdell, and I'm the founder and president of the Kemptville Disc Golf Club. And we founded the club in 2021. You can see a few pictures here of the community involvement level that we're at. We've got lower left, we've got some youth involved. We've got over on the right, you can see a large gathering of ladies for the Global Women's Event Tournament that we held at our disc golf course at Ferguson Forest Center. And you can see down below that, there's a class of St. Mike students getting disc golf instruction from one of their teachers. And we have on the bottom right a family that played our course over the summer that came from Finland and thought they'd drop in and try it out. Next slide, please. Okay, let's talk about why we're here. And what we're looking for is $5,500 to basically do a simple equipment upgrade. We currently have 18 disc golf baskets on the course. Half of those baskets are commercial grade quality that can withstand public use. The other half are 9 practice grade baskets that are not designed for ongoing public use. So just to put it in terms of what we can all understand, I think of hockey nets, putting a street hockey net in an arena to play hockey versus the proper goal. So we're looking to upgrade those baskets to address the phenomenal increase in our users and their desire for consistent quality disc golf experience. We've used these practice baskets for a couple of seasons now, and they are starting to show a lot of heavy wear. Next slide, please. Okay, so in order to justify this, this request is in line with the master plan and vision in several ways, and it shows the municipality's dedication to its partners in making strategic investments to encourage healthy living, a healthy community, stronger economy, and sustainable environment that does attract this sport. I'll tell you, does attract visitors from all over. Next slide, please. And the community impact, physical health is very important. You can see yourself there, Nancy, trying out the putting at the Healthy Living Expo. So physical health is very important, and we understand that, and we know that you do too. And that goes hand in hand with mental health and communing with nature. Disc golf is held in a completely natural setting. It's in an open area, and it's also in a forested area. And the barriers to disc golf are minimal. In fact, I can't even think of one. It's very affordable, and it's very accessible to all ages. Next slide, please. And I think I'm not going to go into all these in detail, but the strategic alignment and all the pillars, you can see that active living it's an obvious part of disc golf. The step count is enormous when you're playing disc golf. You get lots of fresh air and exercise. It's barrier-free, very low cost. It's a great way to connect with nature, and the partnerships that our club has formed in the community are an integral part of our existence. We have relationships with the Kemptville Library at the Kemptville Youth Center and local elementary schools and high schools. Next slide, please. Okay, so to cover off the volunteers, we have a broad base of volunteers that support all our activities, from league and tournaments to setup, takedown, all those sorts of things, social media activities. We have last year we had 90 members, and about 10% or so are regular people that you can always count on to volunteer to help out with things. For this particular request of buying another 9 commercial grade baskets, we'd only need a few volunteers for a few hours. Next slide, please. And I think finally, the success measures. There's several ways that we can determine the success level of this investment from the municipality. We have club statistics that we keep. We also have a digital app that is used worldwide by disc golfers called UDisc. And last year, it captured 2,572 rounds of disc golf that were played only at Ferguson Forest. So that's a lot. And only a fraction of disc golfers actually use that app. We have a very high rating on that app. Users rate the course and give feedback, and it's one of the top 3 in Eastern Ontario. Also, another measure is our social media with Facebook. We have a lot of followers, and a lot of people contribute to it as well. And our club statistics, we keep on leagues and tournaments. And we've already, just speaking of tournaments, we've already booked 3 large tournaments. One in May for the Ontario Junior Tour. In June, we have a national women's event. And then in the fall, we have our annual tournament. Next slide, please. I think that's it then. And just to answer Councillor Barclay's traditional question, in terms of can we pull this off by ourselves without any help? Sure, we could. We can do that. It would take us a little longer. We do have community support through our leagues and tournaments that provide income, and our membership fees, as well as the local businesses that have stepped up to sponsor holes and support us that way. So if we don't get it all, if we don't get any of it, we'll survive. But in order to give the disc golfers the best and most consistent experience on the course, we'd love to upgrade these baskets and ensure the longevity and quality of play at the course. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Dwayne. At the risk of being characterized as Scrooge or the Grinch, we're not suggesting that you go away empty-handed. It's just how to accommodate all these asks within a limited budget. But one observation I have, it's great that you've got 3 tournaments happening, and I'm listening to the presentations from the North Grenville Curling Club, etc. It would be great if we had a hotel to accommodate even more tournaments. And I'm just thinking off the top of my head that it would be great to get all these different groups together to collect or catalog all the different tournaments that they're able to host here in Kemptville, and maybe we can attract a hotel to set up shop so we can do a lot more. And thanks for the presentation, Dwayne. It was well received, at least from me.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Just a very quick question. I understand, did we partner with you a year ago on some other baskets? Is that correct?
Yes, you did. That is correct. Last year, you did support us in the purchase of the 9 commercial grade baskets
Okay.
that we used to expand the course from 9 holes to 18.
So it's the original 9 that are at play right now because they don't have the longevity of the commercial ones?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, that's very helpful to know. And I know this course is extremely popular and that you have attracted some private sector sponsors. Do you expect you can mobilize some of those private sector folks to offset some of these costs?
Yes, I do. I'm optimistic that we'll get a similar level of support from local businesses.
Yeah.
And that'll help.
Okay, because I can see that you proposed 5,500. Is that right? And is that the full
that's correct.
cost of the baskets?
That is the full cost of 9 commercial grade baskets
Okay,
with shipping and tax.
indeed. So when you have private sector sponsors working with the club, is it on those other things that you've mentioned, sort of tournaments, et cetera? Where are you able to mobilize their resources if they come on board?
Typically, we would use them for tournaments and things like that to help us out with prizes and et cetera.
Okay.
And further, we can use portions of that toward purchases of equipment upgrades and things like that. So we're not without hope by any means, but it certainly would help.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. You definitely have, the club has definitely enhanced the recreational options in North Grenville, and it's an incredible course. It's an amazing experience. I did the whole thing this summer with the kids, and it was wild. So thanks for all of your effort. We appreciate it.
Excellent. I appreciate it. I feel fortunate. Take care.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. All right, colleagues, we're going to move on. I believe we're going to go to Neil, who's been here the whole time. And then we'll go back to Jackie on behalf of Leslie because the presentation is ready to go. So welcome, Neil.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Peckford and Deputy Mayor Barkley and councillors and the staff for this evening. We appreciate your time. So I'm Neil White. I'm here representing a request from the Oxford Mills Community Association to seek a grant to support a portion of the cost of our Canada Day celebration. So the grant would be used roughly, it breaks down one third. So we have several sources of funding. Certainly the community is a strong supporter and we're able to raise approximately 1/3 of the funds required to host the event from the community. The remaining third comes from a grant that we're seeking from the federal government. I believe it's called Celebrate Canada. And then, if we're lucky enough to receive the other third from you folks, then we have a pretty reasonable budget to host the event. Roughly about 65% of the total budget goes to paying live performers. So the day comprises it's hosted in Maplewood Park, which is a lovely place to be in on July 1st. The trees are amazing. The view of the historic buildings is lovely. We host live music and there's food available, some of it free. Some of it is for pay from the service made available by a service club. And then we have games and crafts available, all for free for the public that attend. So it is a pretty well attended event. It's a difficult thing to get an actual head count. What we get is an idea of the peak attendance throughout the day. But we have people showing up for a portion of the event and leaving, and they might come back several times or not. But so we peak at somewhere between 180 and just a little bit over 200, 250, 220 people or so typically. But we estimate it could be 2 times that, the number of visitors that actually cycle through the park. So it does touch a fair amount of the public. I actually, if you flip ahead, we have just a couple of slides. We didn't get too pictorial with the slides here. So these are just a collage of some of the activities. And if you go to the next event, the next slide, that was last year's event. So the musical performers, we try and where reasonable and it's possible, find some local performers, and certainly Tripoli and Burning Sensations count for that. And then last year we were lucky enough to land Jessica Pearson in the East Wind, who's really quite a national gift and a young and upcoming performer from Ottawa. And what made landing Jessica possible was that we aligned with the efforts that the KDCA had organized, and Jessica played in Kemptville as well. So it made Jessica's day to come down with her two bandmates much more reasonable for her and much more affordable for the Oxford Mills Community Association as well as the KDCA. So touching on some of the things that about the event that, I mean, it's a Canada Day event, right? It's not, it's I think we all have a sense of what that is, but we think the event lines up very well with the strategic plan. So certainly regarding the, you know, endeavors to provide a balanced and environmentally sustainable growth through the promotion of North Grenville's built heritage, we think we whacked that one out of the park, so to speak. We host it at Maplewood Park under the centennial trees and directly adjacent Maplewood's heritage buildings. You know, we think we do a pretty good job of bringing attention and commemoration to one of the municipality's most beautiful spaces. So we really receive a lot of comments from people who come from afar about how pleasant it is to be there. So it's a great place. As regarding strengthening community engagement with the endeavor, we touch on almost every goal under this pillar. So that, you know, with this grant opportunity, we can forge another partnership with the council and the municipality. We support our community groups and strengthen volunteerism. We create opportunities to support local arts and culture. And these are all very positive outcomes from the project. Regarding a caring community, taking part in a caring community and building opportunities to demonstrate that, our event, you know, acknowledges all of the items under equity, diversity, inclusion, and reconciliation. You know, certainly we make an attempt to speak a land engagement before the event, put that into the park. So we think regarding lining up with the strategic plan, the event certainly does that. So regarding how the activities supported by the grant will benefit the community, well, it's clear. A sense of community is built by bringing people together in public spaces for a common purpose, and that's what the day does. Regarding the number of volunteers, it's quite a team of people that make the event run. It's roughly in the vicinity of 15 to 18 people that it takes to make the day go, which, you know, we have public in the park from about 11:30 till 4, but we have volunteers present in the park from about 8 until 5. So we estimate that there's approximately 120 total volunteer hours required just the day of to make it run. The community association draws upon a pool of volunteers from the community, as well as including high school students seeking volunteer hours. We cast that net far and wide and get some good participation from some younger members. Additionally, I mean, that's just to run the event. To plan the event, there's an additional effort made by 4 to 6 people where, you know, modestly 10 to 15 hours, more often quite a bit more than that, for an additional 90 hours of 90 volunteer hours required. So all in, the event requires about 210 volunteer hours to run. So, you know, it's a going concern. And regarding measuring success, well, you know, clearly it's an event, so attendance is part of that. But more than that, it's the feedback that we receive during the day, as well as in social media afterwards. We also use the event as a mechanism for fundraising for the community association to fund our ongoing projects that take place throughout the year. And you know, we've been fortunate enough to receive some really great support from the community for the efforts for the events that we host throughout the year, in addition to Canada Day. So, looking to be brief and respect everybody's evening. That's the nature of the ask. Now, I think what I didn't make clear was, you know, the request is for $1,200 from the municipality. we're quite confident that we can raise an additional $1,200 from the community, and we're counting on about $1,000 from the federal government. So that's the nature of the ask. We respectfully acknowledge that you have a lot of people asking for money. In the event that the municipality can't support the event will still run. The community association will then have a choice of, do we scale the event back, or do we look to scale back some of the events that we host in the community at other times in the year? So that's the long and the short of it. So over to you guys.
And just quickly, Neil, I believe that we've supported the municipality through this process, has supported previous Canada Day events, right?
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, this is something that we've done at a similar level financially.
A
Has the
similar
ask
level.
changed much? Very
Yep.
similar, correct?
Yep. Nearly
Okay.
identical. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. I appreciate that, and know how valuable and wonderful it is to have that space in Oxford Mills. And I mean, the shade is just unparalleled. It's one of my favorite places because I can stay very, very cool. And it's such a low key and relaxing and inclusive way to spend Canada Day. So I appreciate all of the effort that you guys put into it.
Thank you.
And how much it means to, have two kind of anchor events, if you will, one in Kemptville and one in Oxford Mills. So in the spirit of our amalgamated rural urban community, it's nice that people have an option for sure.
We do see it as quite a synergistic contribution to the day, and we certainly in no way look to compete with the high energy activities that take place in Kemptville.
Yes.
And I think it gives people an alternative to that, and it ends soon enough in the day that they can go partake in those festivities as well. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. There's some really good synergies, and I don't think they compete at all. They very much complement each other. So we're appreciative of your ongoing commitment to hosting that event through the Oxford Mills Community Association. So thank you very much. And we know that we've seen value in it in the past, and we hope to again. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we're on to our last presentation. We have Dr. Jackie Shoemaker here. Is it Shoemaker? Jackie, I'm sorry, I don't know. It is.
Yes, it is. Yep, Shoemaker Homes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So over to you, and you'll be our last presenter this evening. And I believe the PowerPoint is now in Hillary's hands or Megan's hands, so we can put it up.
Yes, thank you so much for accommodating the PowerPoint. So I'm just going to give a really brief, maybe I'll wait for the PowerPoint. I don't know.
Yeah, just give us a sec. We should be able to see it shortly. There you go.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. So my name is Jackie Shoemaker Holmes. I'm here from Girls Inc. of Upper Canada. Girls Inc. of Upper Canada serves Leeds and Grenville. So that's obviously a large area with, that encapsulates a number of different communities with its own, with their own particular needs and demographics and issues and all of that kind of thing. Girls Inc. Of Upper Canada has been serving Leeds and Grenville since 1979. And I'm going to be talking today about how Girls Inc. serves North Grenville specifically by providing two programs, one annual summer program series and one ongoing program related to food security. So every year, Girls Inc. brings programming to communities throughout Leeds and Grenville, and this summer was the first time since 2020 that we were able to bring back in-person programming. We ran 2 summer camps with a STEM theme, so that's science, technology, engineering, math, and it sometimes also includes arts. Theme, meaning that the girls experienced a week-long hands-on, and we also call it minds-on, hands-on, minds-on program of activities based on science, technology, engineering, and math. We held 2 summer camps in North Grenville at the Kemptville Pentecostal Church on Highway 43. 40 local girls participated over the 2 weeks of camp that were offered this summer. So when it comes to how we serve North Grenville girls, local girls, and how that relates to the strategic pillars outlined in the municipal plan. We see Girls Inc. as reflecting two key pillars: a strong, connected, and vibrant community, and a caring community. The impacts of the pandemic continue to reverberate, as we've heard through a lot of these presentations tonight, through community as children and youth come back together and resume life in ways that reflect pre-pandemic times. Many children are dealing with the loss of connection and increasing mental health challenges related to their isolation, their virtual hybrid schooling demands, and general health and social anxiety that so many of us experienced during this unprecedented moment in our recent history. North Grenville has articulated some excellent goals within each of these strategic pillars, goals that Girls Inc. can absolutely help the municipality reach. The municipality is seeking long-term visioning and maintenance of quality of life for all citizens, including vulnerable members of communities and a healthy and connected populace. Girls Inc. provides girls with ongoing mentorship, opportunities to become more community-oriented and integrated, and allows space for them to understand their present and future roles as leaders in the community. The municipality wants to, quote, increase engagement with key priority groups such as youth, unquote. And there's no better way to do that than to look to the leading youth organization that serves girls and young women, that is Girls Inc. We are pleased to align with the equity, diversity, and inclusion focus of the municipality as well by engaging girls in the broadest sense, that is youth who identify as non-binary, transgender, questioning an array of different other ways that youth express who they are in contemporary society. So going back to the two programs, the activities supported by the grant will provide an affordable week-long summer camp experience for local girls. We hear from families each year that Girls Inc. Summer Camp is their child's favorite summer experience. Additionally, families facing financial hardship will be given access to our subsidy program and attend camp at no cost. Our monthly grocery program provides custom grocery order for families in the municipality valued at $60 to $100. On average, we have 3 to 4 orders each month from North Grenville. When families are supported in meeting their basic needs, food, they're better able to support their children and engage in their community. So Groceries for Girls was really born out of a food security need that became very evident during the pandemic. And it was a way that Girls Inc. stepped up to provide more holistic services for themselves and their families. It's a collaboration with the Brockville and Area Food Bank, and it enables us to hand pack and deliver requested grocery items to families across Leeds and Grenville. So you can imagine how many volunteers we have driving in all kinds of directions. And as I mentioned, that is what Leslie is doing this evening, dropping off food to her designated route. So we have delivered between January 2022 and December 2022, we delivered 48 total grocery packages to families living in North Grenville. This represents, sorry, there's my computer's.
And you know what, Jackie, I just want to know, our slide presentation isn't moving. I'm not sure if it was supposed to.
Oh, yes, I'm on like the third slide. I'm sorry, I haven't been saying.
Okay, now I see. Okay, gotcha.
Yes,
there we go.
Yep.
That's okay.
So, because I'm also following along with my slides. So, essentially, North Grenville requests amount to about 12% of our total grocery orders. And as one of 13 municipalities in Leeds and Grenville, this percentage reflects significant need despite population differences.
Okay, and I think if we could have the clerk's office just go back a slide. Would you mind going back a slide? Okay. And so carry on. So 48 deliveries, 7 families in North Grenville, 12% of our total orders. That's what we're seeing on the screen, Jackie. All right, carry on. So we'll keep going.
So we're going to the next slide. I just want to talk a little bit about the Girls Inc. experience. Essentially, we offer programming that is pro-girl and in pro-girl spaces. So this allows for what we call sort of compensatory programming in fields and in ways that girls do not necessarily receive in mainstream schooling or mainstream other forms of programming. So we heavily focus on things like leadership, as I mentioned, and providing girls with a lot of hands-on learning that allows them to, get messy, be bold, develop their life skills, develop their full potential. We do this based on evidence-based programming, and that is field tested. So this is not just some programming that we're creating sort of out of thin air. This is youth development programming that is deeply embedded in the peer-reviewed academic research that is contemporary, up-to-date, and demonstrably helpful for impacting girls' lives. And that is the impact we see: leadership, resilience, confidence, and girls reaching their full potential as a result of being part of our programming. So the next slide just talks about volunteers. So 20 or so volunteers will provide in excess of 384 hours, primarily through the packing and delivery of our monthly grocery packages. We also have volunteers that participate in programming, but this is where the bulk of our volunteer hours will go toward, is the grocery program. The next slide is essentially how we evaluate. So we are embarking on a more fulsome, formalized process of evaluation and impact measurement by participating in the Strong, Smart, and Bold survey, which is an international survey. Girls Inc. is an international organization. The bulk of the affiliates are actually in the United States. There are 5 affiliates across Canada. And so we are really fortunate in order to be able to participate in this, this international surveying, and in order to be able to compare and contrast what we're seeing locally with what we're seeing more broadly in terms of the impact in girls' lives. We also do ongoing surveying that is more informal, sometimes pre and post surveys, otherwise, evaluative programming, post-programming sort of information gathering, so that we can continue to meet the needs of local girls in the way that they need it. And we do, we have conversation and informal surveying of parents as well, because that they are an important component to what we're doing. So the next slide is, we're asking for $1,500. The total program cost that we're looking at is $4,537, and that just really represents the subsidy amount that we would provide to North Grenville specifically, right, in order to be able to girls to have a no-cost barrier to participating in programming. So our subsidy program is in place to ensure that all girls who want to participate in programming are able to, no matter financial circumstance. And this amount represents the subsidy value and the grocery value of monies directed to North Grenville specifically, not the total budgetary cost of all programming and all groceries, which is a much larger number, 36,000 total indirect support programs. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
So Jackie, I just want to figure out the connection between the grocery program and the actual, programs. And I declare my girls many years ago participated in a couple of your Girls Inc. programs. So I've seen them up close. That was many years ago now, I think, prior to getting elected, but obviously I'm familiar with them. But so how do families identify their grocery need, or is that entirely separate from any program engagement? If you could just answer that very quickly.
That's a really great question. And actually in recent months, we've had to make a clear connection between participation in programs and participation in the grocery program, because the demand for it, it was originally a universal program, and the demand for that program became sort of it was growing sort of exponentially in a way that we really didn't anticipate. And so we have tied the grocery program now to girls who participate in programming or have participated in the last 12 months.
Okay. And it's through the girls' participation, or by extension, a parent learns of the grocery program and they're able to express discreetly some sort of need for that kind of support. So I'm assuming it is in lieu of use of a food bank, or maybe just a supplement to the realities of operating a family that the grocery program is put into play. Is that right?
Absolutely. This is sometimes it's really just to get families through the month. Sometimes it is a supplement to regular food bank usage. It really depends on the family circumstance. But families are allotted a certain amount of points, and they can use all of those points depending on number of members in their family.
Okay. And then finally, the sources of your food that is used, or the sources of the groceries. Is it through the food banks that the grocery program provides the necessary supplies, or do you have partnerships with local grocery stores? How does that work?
So we specifically collaborate with the Brockville and Area Food Bank.
Right.
That is our key partner. And so they have the available groceries. We fill our grocery orders there. We provide the monies that the food bank needs for those groceries. And then we're able to pack them and take them.
Okay. So, and that would be true of families that you are serving in North Grenville, is that correct?
Everywhere, yes.
Okay, so no matter where the child or the family lives, it's that Brockville and Area Food Bank that's supplying the groceries.
That's right.
Okay, and then finally, I assume perhaps that using your program may offer some discretion to families who may not, necessarily wish to be more obvious about their food needs or their food insecurity. So perhaps through participation in the program, there's a little bit of dignity provided to those families who wouldn't necessarily have to I accept some of them might, but perhaps this is just another way to support food security of those families without those families having to necessarily avail of other means. So they may be. I'm trying to make sense of, how families avail of this program and what the rationale is.
Yes, and as I mentioned, it was really it really grew out of a direct need that was evident during the pandemic.
Right.
That the families there was just a food need. There was a food need, and Girls Inc. stepped up to help girls and their families in that way. And this has enabled Girls Inc. to create different kinds of connections with parents and caregivers, and things like that. And you're absolutely right. It does enable dignity, privacy, confidentiality, respect in terms of the sort of hand delivery to people's homes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's helpful. Well, maybe just then I'll stop. But I just want to say that I think in North Grenville and throughout the United Counties, and as you know, I'm warden now, so I can wear that hat as well. I realize there is certainly more urban and rural poverty than any of us is articulating on a regular basis. There's a lot of poverty and so much of it is hidden. So I understand and recognize the value of these programs, you know, whatever this one and others, for, you know, sort of giving families a way forward under extremely difficult circumstances. And it's become apparent to me just how urgently required, you know, these programs are, and the pressures on organizations such as yourselves and the food banks and many others, to provide something which is so basic, you know, in our country, which is access to food. So thank you for the work and for the fulsome presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I don't
so
know if
much.
there's any other questions or Jackie, if you want to just conclude with a comment, and then I think we're going to close the meeting.
Just thank you so much for having me.
Okay, council colleagues, is there anything else on this one? Okay, Deputy Mayor, go.
Yeah, thank you through Madam Mayor. Just a comment relevant to the last presentation and your comments is that the gap between a minimum wage and a living wage is broadening, you know.
Yes.
Is getting greater. So thank you for the opportunity to make that comment.
The disparities are real, and yeah, to your point, extremely real and very, I think very discouraging, because we know how hard people work. Okay, all right, council colleagues, I think that concludes our presentations this evening. Is that right, Ms. Janou?
That concludes the presentations, correct?
Okay, so then I'll just look to, I think I'm just calling up the agenda. We're just looking for a council motion and in regards to confirming the proceedings this evening. Is that right, Hillary?
We do just have a recommendation that council receive the community grant presentations and report titled 2023 Community Grants for Information Purposes.
Oh, great. I'll look for a mover seconder for that, colleagues. Councilor Strachian, Councilor Barclay, thank you. Next motion, Hillary, while you're at it.
That bylaw 1123 to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on January 26, 23 be adopted and passed.
Councilor Wilson, wishing to move. A seconder, please. Councilor Strachian. I'll call the vote on that. All in favor of confirming proceedings, raise your hands. Good. And then are we motion to adjourn, Hillary?
Correct.
Okay. Motion to adjourn, please. Councilor Barclay, need a seconder to adjourn. Councilor Wilson, thank you very much. And I believe, Ms. Janou, we have set a second date for the completion of presentations. Is that right?
Correct. The second night will be February 8th for the last 12 presentations.
February 8th. Okay. Colleagues, it should be in your calendar. We'll talk if it isn't. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Janou.